All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. Bayern PSG. Second leg, 1-0 victory for PSG, and overall a 6-4 aggregate win overall. I think we all knew this was not going to be the same as the first leg. I think we all absolutely were aware that there was no way we were going to get 9 goals again. That was clear as day. 1-0, I think, a little bit disappointing. I think, it wouldn't have been too greedy to hope for like a 2-2, 4 or 5 goals. But really, there are a couple reasons for why that happened. The two major themes from this game are PSG controlled it in a far more shrewd way than they did in the first leg, where, frankly, at home, the onus was on them to attack. That's exactly what they did. Bayern attacked a lot more in the away leg than you would have expected, and for them to come away just 1 goal behind into the second, that was actually a really, really good situation for Bayern. I think that they came into this leg in a fantastic position, but man, I mean, there are really two major themes. As I said, the number one thing, PSG did a great job controlling the game. The other major thing is Bayern did not take their chances the way they did in the first leg. And that on its own is the reason that this ended 1-0. So let's go ahead and go through some of the major events of the game. I took some pretty detailed notes here. Basically just wrote down a whole bunch of stuff. Minute by minute, keeping track of things, seeing how I felt about things I noticed. So we're going to go through. First of all, it's right away. There's no chances in the game before we get the first goal. And this is a brilliant goal. And it reminded me a lot of the goal that PSG scored against Arsenal in the semifinal away leg last year. Last year was a long stretch of possession that ended up with Dembele getting a cutback and putting it in. This time, it's not as long of a stretch of possession, but the ball got played into Kvaratskhelia. Now, from William Pacho. Now, Kvaratskhelia was normally deployed. He's the left winger in this team, and he actually doesn't rotate positions as much as some of the others do. Definitely not as much as Dembele. Doué moves around a little bit more. The midfield obviously shakes around, but Kvaratskhelia at this moment goes a little bit inside, right, and puts himself on Upamecano, the center back. Drops in to receive the ball. Upamecano goes with him. Of course, this is the way Bayern play. They go man-to-man. When players in the front line drop, they follow them. Upamecano's been doing this the entire tie, right? So that means that space has now opened up in that center back position. The problem is that Stanisic, the right back for Bayern, did not step forward or step back. He kind of just stayed in this no man's land zone. And so when the ball goes into Kvaratskhelia, he bumps it off to Fabian Ruiz, and because Stanisic is a little too deep, he can't press up onto Fabian Ruiz. The ball gets to him, gets played down the line, and Kvaratskhelia spins, and he beats Upamecano on the run, drives deep. Now, actually, right when he receives this ball, he looks to the opposite side, and he sees Ousmane Dembele is completely free out there. I mean, there is no one anywhere close to him. He's way out on the side. But it's also like a 50, 60-yard ball to switch it out to him. Not really an ideal scenario that you really want. Because, it's a risky pass to take when you can just keep driving forward, which is exactly what Kvaratskhelia does. He keeps bombing forward. Now, Pavlovic does a really good job of sprinting back. He is just bombing back to try and be able to stop the ball getting to Dembele, and he does a really good job. But right at the last moment, when you take a look at this goal, as Dembele is running in, Pavlovic just runs by him, and then Pavlovic is looking at the ball. And that moment, right where Pavlovic goes by him, is when Dembele stops. So Pavlovic passes him by, Dembele's free, the ball gets cut back to him, and he smashes it in the roof of the net. And Pavlovic just looks and goes, oh my God, like that guy's wide open. I didn't realize that. So, unfortunately for Pavlovic, as he ran in, he didn't take one last look over his shoulder to see if Dembele stopped or continued to run. And that is what opened up the space. Goal, 1-0 in 2 minutes, basically. And that was a real gut punch for Bayern Munich because now they're 2 goals behind in the tie, and PSG can really settle down and start to just, PSG are so good at this. They can keep the ball for 30 seconds or a minute and a half at a time and really make time disappear. I mean, as a Chelsea fan, I watched them do this, and it was like they can just take the sting out of the game when they want. And there were periods where I think they did that really, really, really well. Then we move on a little bit. Huge opportunity for Bayern Munich. Desperate block by PSG. Just a scramble in the box. Then I've got Elise absolutely skins Nuno Mendes, cuts inside, curls the ball just over the bar. And if you watch, Michael Elise scored a goal exactly like this in the Bundesliga just a couple games ago. And, I mean, this is the thing about this Champions League tie. You have to take your chances. Okay, so then there's a huge moment. Absolutely massive moment. Handball by Nuno Mendes. And the Bayern bench go absolutely mental. They're absolutely furious. They think it should be a handball. And it should be a second yellow card for Nuno Mendes. And then the referee awards a free kick in the opposite direction. He gives the free kick to PSG. Now, I was very confused in this moment. I didn't really understand what was going on. I was like, why? How? And then you actually see the replay, and it's that Konrad Leimer, as he's chesting the ball, it hits his right arm, falls to the floor. Then he plays the ball through, and it hits Nuno Mendes' arm. And the referee actually called that initial handball. So that's all well and good. But it did infuriate the Bayern players, their bench, the crowd. Everyone was on edge. And about a minute later, another handball. This one, I really don't understand the call entirely, but this is where we're at with handball, to be honest. PSG are defending in a moment in their box. William Pacho gets the ball. He tries to clear it out. It hits Joao Neves' arm when his arm's kind of like here. So it is away from his body. So that is one of the things that would be a penalty. Granted, it's not him trying to make himself bigger. His arm's not really in an unnatural position trying to make himself bigger to block any kind of cross. It's coming off his own teammate, so clearly an accident. But it's still a handball in the penalty area. And, we look at the one that Alphonso Davies got called for in the first leg where it hit his thigh and then his arm. And you can see how Bayern feel a little aggrieved by this one and that this is kind of unjust. I don't disagree. I think that that's pretty reasonable for them to be furious. The crowd was completely on edge. The referee stopped the game. I don't really know why. And basically everything after that was just kind of a mess. Really, I think one of the major issues is when you look at this kind of situation again, it's just not clear what should happen in this scenario. And I think because it's a handball in the box, it becomes a penalty possibility. And then, you're really looking at what do the referee and VAR say? And I think in this scenario, they both decided no. Okay. But yeah, the stadium was on fire at that point. They were absolutely furious. Then we have a Joao Neves header from a PSG free kick. Really good ball sent in. Neves heads it down. Excellent save by Neuer. And these are big moments because you can see PSG, if they get one more goal, the tie is basically done, right? Or, well, with the amount of goals these teams score, you never know. But that seems like the way it's going to be. Then Bayern have a really, really nice couple chances. Very good build-up in the midfield. Olise starts out wide, comes inside, nice little back heel into Musiala. He drives towards the heart of the PSG defense, and they just back off and open up. And he gets right to the top of the box, tries to hit a left-footed curler to the bottom corner. It's well saved by Safonov, but it leaks out. There's a little exchange of the ball. It comes back to Musiala, who shoots wide. Again, these are massive opportunities, but if you are going to stay alive in a tie like this, they have to go in. So now we're up to 4 chances for Bayern where they have not been able to capitalize. That puts them in a horrible position. And look, that's exactly the major issue. You don't take your chances, you will eventually pay by either getting scored on at some point later in the match or, obviously, by not being able to claw your way back. Then there's a moment right at the end of the half that no one really, the commentators kind of let slip by. Bayern get a free kick late. They cross it in. Jonathan Tah gets a header, and he's about 8-9 yards out. And at first, it kind of looks like a difficult one. Ball's whipped in through bodies. He heads it, bounces just wide. Seems okay. But then you see the replay, and he's completely free. So the fact that he doesn't even test Safonov in this scenario is another just wasted opportunity. At least put it on target. Then you got guys who can crash the goal. This just wasn't really good enough. So then we get to halftime. Things I noticed throughout the first half in terms of just the way that everyone was set up. PSG mostly defended in a 3. You didn't really see Nuno Mendes going forward much at all. Zaire Emery was the right back in place of Hakimi, and in build-up, he would come into the midfield to help create numerical advantages. And it also kind of freed Fabian Ruiz to just stay closer to Michael Olise, because a lot of the time, that's what Fabian Ruiz did. As soon as Olise would get the ball, he would go towards him, try and put in a tackle, make him a little, just unsettle him a little bit. It worked. Olise did not have a good day today. It was unfortunately just a down performance from him, and when they absolutely need better, right? You need to make sure that you can take those chances. The pace of the game is amazing. So relentless, just so quick. Players under incredible pressure and then finding ways out of it. Some of the footwork and just technique on the ball was absolutely astounding. So we get to halftime. We reload for the second half. And honestly, for Bayern, there were just a couple moments. I think someone got injured early in the half. There were maybe a couple injuries early on and stoppages. And this really killed that ability for Bayern to just get after it. Just to go and create that pressure right at the beginning of the half. Instead, it took quite a while for the game to liven up. And it's actually Kvaratskhelia who gets the first major opportunity of that second half. I mean, absolutely takes Leimer to school, twists him inside and out multiple times, gets a left foot shot off. Very good save again by Neuer, down with his foot down on the left side. And that was really the first big opportunity of the half. And that was an issue for Bayern, is they weren't creating great chances. They had territorial advantage. They had the ball, but they weren't creating excellent opportunities. Then you got Doué. He goes on a little bit of a mazy run, creates an opportunity by himself, gets a shot. Again, a good save by Neuer. And it's starting to feel like it's just not it's starting to feel like it's not Bayern's night. Like, it's just, they can't seem to break through. They don't quite have that fluidity in their game. And PSG are just annoying them at every turn. One other thing that I thought was really interesting in the second half, Safonov was kicking all of his goal kicks and free kicks out. Now, I don't know if the plan was directly out of play or if it was as high and wide as you can go and he's pulling a few and missing them. I don't really know. But, man, I mean, it was hilarious to see. I think he did it 4 or 5 times in the match where he just pinged the ball straight out of play. Maybe it's in order to, it's kind of like their kickoff where they put it out and there's a throw in. And so it slows the game down a little bit. It allows you to push up, to press. I don't know, but it was kind of interesting. It definitely jumped out. And there were a few decisions for Bayern that didn't go their way. I think Luis Diaz getting sort of blocked by Beraldo at the top of the box. Then he grabs it, handball. Harry Kane, same thing happened. And you could just feel a sense of desperation coming from Bayern. It just felt as if they were not. It just felt like it's just not their night. Things just aren't working for you. So yeah, I mean, the clock really starts to wind down. There's a huge chance for Bayern where Karl and Leimer both take shots that are blocked, but they just couldn't quite get to the goal. And then finally, Harry Kane receives a ball from Alphonso Davies. He spins, rolls a defender, and smashes it in the top corner. And yeah, there's a minute to go, but Bayern, that's not enough time to really mount a big siege of a comeback. You basically have one chance to get in the box and hope it works, Hail Mary style. It didn't, and that is how the tie ends. So we end up with a 1-0 victory for PSG, 6-4 on aggregate, and quite honestly, At this point, it would be an epic failure if they didn't repeat. And I just want to make this clear. I was thinking about how many teams have won the Champions League, and the following season, they are clear, outright favorites in the final. That's not normally the case. I mean, a lot of the time, teams that have won the Champions League come in the next year, and if they're really good, they might make it to the semis. Some have made it to the final. It's really rare to win back-to-back this competition. It's very rare. And the times Real Madrid have done it, they haven't been the best team in the tournament. They keep surprising people as they get through. But PSG's advantage going into this final has got to be enormous. I mean, I don't know what the odds are yet on this, but God, I mean, does anyone really give Arsenal more than just a punter's chance, right? Yes, anything can happen on a given day. Yes, Arsenal are good defensively and good from set pieces. They have some good players. They could create a moment, score a goal, make things difficult, and catch PSG on an off day. I mean, Chelsea did it in the Club World Cup. Could the same thing happen for Arsenal? Look, the odds are low. But PSG, I mean, this is a massive opportunity to win the Champions League back-to-back with basically the exact same team, same manager, same style. What I don't know, what an outrageously incredible feat that would be for them to pull off. I just think this team is revolutionizing football in a way. And I got to give credit to Luis Enrique as well, because you have to understand, Luis Enrique, when he took over at Barcelona, he inherited a team. The core was built by Guardiola. Tito Villanova takes over, wins a league. And then Luis Enrique takes over and they bring in Neymar. And I think a lot of people just thought, well, this team was just so ridiculous. You had Neymar, Suarez, Messi in the front line. You still had this incredible midfield of Iniesta, Busquets, and Xavi. You know, you've still got like great, amazing players all over the place. And so winning the Champions League with that, I think a lot of people looked past Enrique really as a coach in that scenario. Then he managed the Spain team, and there were some weird things that happened there. They're falling on penalties, and there was something kind of missing from Enrique's game, right? I think a certain level of credibility that he is one of the great managers was just not, I don't think it was really in most people's thoughts. What he has done with this PSG team puts him in a whole new league. I mean, if this team goes and wins the Champions League again, which I do expect them to do, Enrique's got to go down as one of the greatest managers of all time. And I know that sounds crazy right now because they're like, well, he's only won the Champions League 3 times. And, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's quite an incredible record. So this PSG team are fantastic. I hope they win the final for a couple of reasons. One, they're the best team. And 2, I'm a Chelsea fan, so I don't want to see Arsenal do it. I really don't. That would be, you know, kind of a gut punch. But nothing against Arsenal fans. I do wish you all the best. And, you know, I know you've never won the Champions League, so you want to. But as Chelsea fans, that's something we hang over your head. So, you know, I'm sorry, but that's the genuine way I feel. Quite an incredible match. Big props to Zaire Emery for playing right back and not putting a single foot wrong as a central midfielder. That's stunning. And he is growing in stature. I mean, he is really turning into a high-quality player. It's pretty impressive. Kvaratskhelia, goodness me. I mean, what a player. Like, just the things that he does, the things he pulls off when he gets 1v1 with defenders, he can twist them inside out. Dembele, simply incredible as well. I didn't think we saw as much of the midfield in more of a building, possession, attacking sense. But Fabian Ruiz was key. I mean, he sets up the first goal with Kvaratskhelia, and then he did a really good job against Michael Olise. As for Bayern, tough one, but give Vincent Kompany an enormous amount of credit. I mean, he is definitely growing his reputation. Yes, he has a fantastic team, but they play excellent football. So really too bad that we didn't get more goals in this. It would have been great. Unfortunately, it is what it is. 1-0 victory only in the end, but PSG, I think, are the deserved winners, and they are just mowing through teams yet again at this same stage as they did last year. knockouts of the Champions League, they are looking kind of unbeatable. So up to you, Arsenal, to do something amazing and maybe win a Champions League and league double. That would be incredible, but you got the best team in the world in your way. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. If this has been a frustrating stream to watch, I apologize. As I said, snowed here, and we've had a lot of internet and power issues in the last 24 hours. So either way, thanks so much for stopping by. This is Campfire Football. What an amazing game that was, and we will be doing a lot more of these live streams when the World Cup comes around. So much appreciated.